Welcome to another edition of the YouTube channel Virginia Wine and Song. This is the YouTube channel where we marry a Virginia wine with an underrated or overlooked or forgotten piece of music from the classic pop and rock era, which is between, in my definition, between 1964 and 1999. So it is now August. It's actually August 7th, 2026. So the summer is going by pretty quickly, and it's another hot, humid day here. Some storms expected later as usual. That is par for the course for this time of year. So anyway, we're going to go right into it. The last episode, of course, I deviated a little bit and talked about another hobby of mine, which is physical media, movies. We're going to get back to the music now, and we're going to dive back into what I started a couple of months ago, and I kind of went off the rails with the last couple of videos because we were celebrating the July 4th and all that. I'm going to go back to the Beatles. Now, the last time I focused on a solo Beatle was a couple of months ago. I shot a video on a solo Paul McCartney record, Paul McCartney. So I thought, well, let's go ahead and take a look at all four of the Fab Four and see what kind of solo output they have that's kind of underrated. So I'll be talking about that. But the first thing I'm going to talk about is the wine. And I only have about 12 and a half minutes here left to talk about the wine and the music, because I try to keep these videos short. So anyway, we're going to talk now about a wine, another winery that is in Northern Virginia, and another wine that has Fox in the name. Previously, there were three wineries in Virginia with Fox in the name. We had Fox Meadow, which is now known as Accord Winery. So now we only have two wineries in Virginia that have Fox in the name. The second winery with Fox in the name is called Flying Fox, which is down around Waynesboro. The third winery that has, or I should say second now, unfortunately, because I used to like the fact that we had three wineries named after foxes in Virginia. Now there are only two. This is Three Fox. Three Fox Winery is actually in Northern Virginia. And this, at one time, Three Fox Winery was a very small, back in the day, that the original pioneering days of Virginia wine, when you had wineries that were very modest. They were in small cabins or small houses, even sometimes the owners' homes. They would have the tastings in the owners' homes. Three Fox actually had kind of a very, very small, very intimate tasting cottage. It was a cottage, basically, but on this really beautiful piece of land in Fauquier County, right off of Route 66. It's only like a 3-minute drive from 66. We would never know you were that close to Route 66. You go over across a railroad track, and then you go up this really kind of steep hill, and you get to Three Fox. And now the winery has gone beyond its humble beginnings as a little cottage and has expanded into a very impressive facility where, of course, they do weddings, I think, and they do corporate events. And they serve a lot of stuff here. They don't just serve wine, they serve beer as well. And I think they also have cider. They have a pizza truck usually on the premises. They, wood fire pizza. Really good place to go. It checks all the boxes you need when you go to a Virginia winery. You want to go to a winery that has really great wine. This is good wine, definitely. The beer is good. The environment, the atmosphere is good. The views are beautiful. You can go outside. You can hang out at a picnic table. You can hang out actually tables they have picnic tables set up between the vines, so you can actually drink wine while you're sitting right next to the vineyard, literally in the middle of the vineyard, which is cool. There's a creek at the bottom of the hill that has a couple of hammocks set up and picnic tables. Very beautiful spot. It really is like a daycation when you go there. And the wines the wines have always been good, I thought. The wines are actually a little better now with the new current ownership, which took over the vineyard from the previous owners a couple of years ago, I think before COVID. It took them a while to get their tasting room built because they're trying to get their tasting room built in the middle of COVID, so that kind of delayed things. But now they're totally operational. Beautiful spot. I like the reds a little bit more than the whites. And the whites are good. The whites are definitely, Pinot Gris. They have a Pinot Gris. They have a Viognier, Vanal Blanc. They have a Sauv Blanc. Some of their whites, I think, are a little bit on the off-dry side for me. They don't have a Chardonnay. Interestingly enough, there's no Chardonnay. They do have a Rosé, and it's always good to see a Rosé, And of course, the Rosé is dry. But I usually gravitate towards the reds when I go here. And the reds are named after people, and I'm presuming these are members of the family or maybe children. This one happens to be a wine called Alicia, which is a Cab Franc blend. Beautiful. I got this back in the wintertime. I'll probably wait until the weather gets cold again to drink it. It's a great Cab Franc. You can't really go wrong with Cab Francs in Virginia. It's really, I think, their signature red grape in the state. They also have a Petit Verdot blend, Petit Verdot Malbec blend. I'm not usually a big fan of Petit Verdots by themselves, but I like the blend they have with Malbec. That one is called Renee. Again, another name probably of one of their children. Another one called Abigail, which is another Petit Verdot blend. They have a Cab Franc blend called Maya. They have a Nebbiolo, which is very unusual for Virginia. Nebbiolo is an Italian varietal. It's called Maxwell. So quite a few different wines named after probably members of their family. And the whites are great too. I mean, again, if you want something a little bit, a little off dry, maybe a little easier to drink in the summertime, I would go with the rosé or or one of the whites. Or if you like beer, you can have a beer there as well. I'm not going to talk about the beer because this is a wine channel, not a beer channel. So anyway, 3 Fox, right off of 66. I would say from Arlington or Alexandria, Virginia. Well, you never know with traffic in Northern Virginia, which is really hit or miss. You just never know what you're going to get. But on a normal day, I think to get to 3 Fox, it's about a 45-minute drive, maybe from Northern Virginia, about an hour drive, I guess, from Maryland. But anyway, definitely worth checking out. So we're going to go right in now to the music, and I already kind of mentioned that I was going to talk about a solo Beatle. We talked about the name of one of the wines is Maxwell. So that's a good segue, because, of course, the Beatles had a song called Maxwell's Silver Hammer. We're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about another solo artist with an album that actually did quite well when it was released. And I don't think we need to talk about who the artist is, because it says right here in big letters on the album cover, this is Ringo. And that's the name of the album as well, Ringo. And Ringo's always been a little bit of an egomaniac. I mean, he'll probably be the first to admit that. When I saw him live in concert with the All-Star Band in the 90s, after every other song, he would yell out, "What's my name?" So it's like, I think we know your name now. Now it's Ringo. And this album, I actually think this is, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think this is almost like a lost Beatles record, because all the Beatles are on this. The only Beatle that's really not on this, if you want to call him a Beatle, actually, I take that back. George Martin, no, it was produced by Richard Perry. Richard Perry was the producer of Nilsson and Carly Simon. I talked about Richard Perry before. He produced Ringo. He had a very good relationship with Ringo, and so he was able to pull in Ringo Starr, make this great album full of all of these songs written by Ringo Starr under the name Richard Starkey, which is his real name, actually, Richard Starkey. But he has songs in here written by George Harrison and also featuring George Harrison. He has songs written by John Lennon and featuring John Lennon on vocals. He's even got a song written by Paul and Linda McCartney, with Paul and Linda on backup vocals and backup instruments. So there you go. All 4 Beatles are on this record, and was not produced by George Martin, although I think Richard Perry was trying to go for a George Martin feel. If you listen to the song Photograph, which is one of the hits from this album, that was written by George Harrison. It actually sounds like a George Harrison song because he plays the guitar in that. That almost sounds like a George Martin production, and that was a big hit. And I think Richard Perry was going for that George Martin sound. The other hit on this was, actually there were 2 other hits. The other number 1 hit, I should say, was You're 16. Probably a song that would have a hard time being played now. You're 16, you're beautiful in your mind, okay? Say no more. Back then you could say stuff like that on the radio, probably not now. And the other hit on here was Oh My My, which was co-written by Richard Starkey, a.k.a. Ringo Starr. That was another top 10 hit. So this is it's a party album. You put this album on and you feel like you're at a party. It's just, it's got, of course, Starr. In his defense, at least his mug is not all over this. You don't see a picture of Ringo actually on the album. He may be back here. They try to do like a kind of a variation of the Sgt. Pepper cover here. So they're really going for a Beatles vibe with this record, for sure. And you can play this album and just, I call it underrated because people don't really talk about it, maybe because of You're 16. This, of course, was on the Apple label. And, of course, the Apple label has a big star on it to represent who. And it's a good condition. I've actually picked this up at a used record store for $8. That's the wonderful thing about used vinyl shops. Sometimes you can get really good stuff. And this doesn't have any cracks on it, no marks. It has no skips on it. It plays really, really well. It's got a song written by Randy Newman on here called Hold On. So it's a treasure trove of just early 70s. Probably a little bit of, probably some herbs were in the air when they were recording this. Probably some alcohol as well. And look at this as well. There's a booklet in here. Instead of liner notes, he actually has a booklet, and there's some drawings on here. I don't know who did the artwork for these. Each song has got its own little drawing, own little piece of artwork here. I'm not sure who drew this. Let me see if I can see who the artist is. Okay, Robbie Robertson is on this record as well, as is Levon Helm, Rick Danko, and Garth Hudson. So you also got members of the band on this. So this album was really Jim Keltner. Jim Keltner was on this record. I mean, this was really just a whole ball of wax. I'm sure recording it was just an utter joy. I think Richard Perry, who's no longer with us, he actually indicated that this was the most fun he ever had producing a record. You know, Ringo Starr was not like Harry Nilsson, although Harry Nilsson and Ringo Starr were really close friends. They were best buddies, actually, as was John Lennon. John Lennon was close with Harry Nilsson as well. But Harry Nilsson could have been really temperamental, and he had a lot of addiction problems. I'm sure there were people who were, had some addiction problems during the recording of Ringo as well, but it doesn't come across. It just comes across as a festive time. I don't know who drew these pictures. It doesn't say who drew these pictures. It's really strange, but it's interesting to have this as a little booklet inside of an album. So pour yourself a glass of 3 Fox wine. This is a red blend here called Alicia. Actually, no, it's not a red blend. It's a pure Cab Franc. So pour yourself a glass of that, or a glass of white, whatever you want, and put on Ringo. If you don't have the album, I don't know if it's available on CD. I'm sure you can get a used CD copy somewhere, but you can stream it. I'm sure you can stream it. And I would stream the whole album and include Year 16. What the hell? I mean, again, you got to remember, it was recorded in 1973. Things were different back then. And dare I say, well, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to mention anything that may anger people. So we'll just cut it there. Listen to Ringo. Enjoy yourself. I will be back next month. I'm not sure if I'll focus on another solo Beatle next month or if we'll talk about something else, but we'll definitely talk about something cool. Thank you for watching, and enjoy the rest of your August.